Guys, we're back over here at the garden. We've been pulling some weeds this morning and getting set up. We've got our second patch of half runners, volunteer half runners. We only grow those. We don't do the mountaineers or anything like that. We've not had any good luck with them. But the volunteer half runners we do really well with. We did a tobacco stick trellis on the first 4 rows, and these are our older 4 rows, or our newer 4 rows. They're vining out. They're getting what I call snake heads. They're popping out. They're reaching out, vining out, trying to grab something. So we've got to get these things trellised up. What we do is we take a 6-foot T-post and we drive it in the ground about 1.5 feet, and then we use bellin twine. This is the twine from last year, and we wrap it across the top and stretch it good and tight, and then we come across the bottom and then we weave it back and forth, and they grab on that and they grow really well. Later on, when they get up and they start getting heavy, we'll come in and we'll actually pull the end posts out and anchor them to the ground to hold it up good and tight. This string's good and strong. It doesn't break. It does really well for us. You buy it cheap. You know, we buy ours at Tractor Supply, and like a 10,000 foot roll for like $20 or round about that. And then you know, it does really well. We use it on everything. We tied up our tobacco sticks. It's good stuff. We use it to run our lines for setting our rows. This is what we're doing today. We're getting into this. I've got to round up a few more T-posts. It takes about 8 per row. It's a 105-foot row. I may have to come back in if they get real heavy and put an extra T-post in to help hold up. But other than that, that's what we're getting into today. Like and subscribe. Thank you. Hey guys, we run out of T-posts. So we've got to make a quick trip up to Tractor Supply. About a 30-minute ride there and a 30-minute ride back, and then when we get back we can finish trellising our beans. We'll show you how we run our strings and stuff. I've got some of the posts drove. We got to get about 20 more T-posts and drive them in the ground, and then we can get it all strung up. To Tractor Supply, we're going to go in here and see if they can't rob us a little bit. Yeah. Hey guys, we just got back from Tractor Supply. We had to run up and get some T-posts and some other things. We bought some new pellets for these cows. We got some alfalfa pellets and some beef pellets, so we brought them up and see how they like them. They seem to be liking them pretty well. These are Holstein crosses. We're going to beef them out this fall. They don't get as beefy as a Angus or one of your other meat crosses, but they have a really good flavored meat. We expect to get quite a bit of meat back on them. We're going to get everything unloaded here, and we'll get back to you when we get in the garden. We're back down here in the garden now. Got a few posts drove. We've got several more to drive in. We're trying to get these strung up for our late harvest of half runner beans. They're the volunteer half runners. They do really well for us. We've got the trellises down there made of tobacco sticks. They're doing real well, but we've done this in the past and it's done really good for us. So we're going to do these last 4 rows with this kind of trellis idea, and in just a minute we'll show you how to string it up. We'll get these other posts drove in and we'll be right back with you.
Hey guys, he made that look easy. Don't let him fool you. It's hard work.
Yep, this is a man's post driver. My Uncle Gerald built this years and years ago, and he let me borrow it about 10 years ago, and he's never asked for it back, and I've tried to give it to him a few times, and he's told me to just keep it until I need it. He's already built 2 or 3 more since then, but I guess it's mine now. We're going to try to get it painted up and get some logos slapped on it, but that's an old one. It's heavy. It's about, Lord, it's probably 40 or 50 pounds. It's heavy, but it only takes a couple licks and it knocks that T-post right down into the ground. All
right guys, once we get some of these drove into the ground, we'll we'll show you how we get them strung. There's a whole lot of people that's strong in this world, but it takes a real strong man to be country strong. And I guess my husband's one of them, because that driver isn't light. Hey guys, I'm gonna go ahead while Brandon's doing up the T-post for the trellises on our green beans. And I like to weed the garden and put it in our weed bucket here. And the reason that I put it in a bucket is because we have pigs. And the pigs like to eat the weeds. We use the pigs to fertilize our garden. And we use stuff out of the garden to feed our pigs. It's a win-win. It cuts down on feed and weeds. But I like to come out here and work around while he's busy, and it's something that we can't both do. And as long as we're both working and doing something, I feel like stuff is getting done. And you know, all of it's not easy work, and you really take pride in stuff that you do yourself, that you grow. And I grew up in a family gardening. We done a multiple family garden. We all picked in, my aunts and mom and dad and grandparents and uncles and cousins. We all did it together. And it was something that I always loved to do. Some of my best childhood memories actually came from working in the garden. And we want to show our kids that they can have fun too. It's not just work, but it's fun. If you love to do it, it's fun. And I feel like they get joy out of gardening with us. If you like anything that we do on here, or the way we do it, or you even have suggestions about stuff that we could improve on that you all do differently than we do, give us a like and subscribe, or comment, or we have a Facebook page also, Tri-County Family Farms, if you want to look us up. But we really appreciate you guys, and thank you.
Here at the garden, we've got all of our posts drove. We put them about 10 to 12 foot apart all the way down the row. And the way I trellis them is, I get a roll of this twine. It's 10,000 feet long. It's baling twine. You buy it at Track Supply. You get 2 rolls for like $22 or something like that. Any hardware store that handles farm stuff will have this kind of twine. A lot of people don't like it, but I like it. It doesn't fall apart. It's not biodegradable at all. It doesn't just melt away. We keep it around. We tie everything up with it, from the garden to animals to bales of hay, you know, whatever we need. The way I do it is I start at the end of a row, and I'll lay a roll of it down, and I'll walk all the way to the end, and I'll start tying it at the bottom, and then I'll bring it back and loop it around each pole on the way. We'll go ahead and do one and show you how we do it. Just be careful as you're walking down the rows. If you've got beans like ours, they're laying out everywhere. We're running late on getting them strung up, so they're stuck out everywhere. But it's a everyday process here at this place. These rows here, they're 105 foot long, and they're 4 foot apart. This area right here, I don't know what's in the ground in this spot, but nothing will grow but weeds. All of our bean plants, it was thick through here. These are all dying, those are dying, all the way down into our earlier half runners. They're dying. So we've got to pull a pH sample on this area right here and see what we need to do, because I really don't know. It's got me mind boggled. I've talked to a couple people about it, and they don't know. So we're going to pull a pH test on it and see what's in this particular spot, because it just will not grow. Now last year we grew corn, but it was right on the edge of this, and we had some corn die in the middle, and I never did think anything about it. But this year it's got me wondering the way it's died in this big circle right here, because you can see the burgundy beans behind me. It seems like it just cut off right there, because these burgundy beans grew just fine, but it killed everything right down in through there. But we'll get it figured out. Alright, let's get back to trellising here. Okay, the way I started is I'll just come up about, I don't know, right at 1.5 feet, 2 foot, and I'll get me a good knot. The end knots are the most important because that's what holds everything together. And I'll wrap it a few times and back and forth. Just make sure it's a good knot. I'm not an expert at it by no means whatsoever. Alright, once you get your knot, I like to give it a good tug to make sure it's tight. What I do is I run back to my first post and I'll wrap it. And I'll bring it down to it to about where I want it. And then I'll come up like that right there and wrap it again. Then I'll come back around and wrap it again, and that's what pulls it tight. And I just do that on every pole. And it seems to hold really well. I don't hardly have any slippage at all. The main thing is to get it tight in the first place. Once you get it tight the first time, it stays. And again, this is just how we do it. It may not be the right way, it's just our way. We try to do it. Some things I'll follow instructions on, but if it works for me, I don't change it. And this has worked for us several times in the past. We like to experiment with stuff. We'll take, and like these trellises here that we made this year, it was an experiment. We've done the trellises with the ancient beans before. They're just a whole lot of work, and we've cut out all of our small poplars here on our place, so we had to go somewhere else. And to be honest with you, it's not a time saver when you have to drive an hour away to find somebody to let you have poplars to cut that's the right size. Some of those were too big, but we used them anyways. I like a smaller round one. They climb better. You'll see a different style of trellis we're going to do this year. My uncle actually, he wanted some pink tip half runners, and we finally found some. We ordered them from Hoss Tools down in Georgia. They had the pink tip half runners. We've got the pink tip peanut beans, but he wanted the pink tip half runners. And we looked and looked and looked, and nobody had them. And we finally found them online at Hoss Tools, and we ordered them. And they was out of the big packs of them. We usually get big packs of everything because, as you can see, we go big with everything. But they didn't have any, so we ordered a bunch of small packs. And we planted 4 rows. They're probably, I don't know, 2 of them's probably 45 foot long, and the other 2's probably 40 foot long. But they're coming up really nice. We got them in the ground a little late, but those are just going to be for us anyways. We'll keep a bunch for seed, and we'll eat a lot of them. But we're going to do a different trellis with them. My uncle, he wanted to try a different kind of trellis that he's used in the past, and we're going to try to get those trellis this evening as well, but it just depends on if we have enough daylight or not. There's always something we've got to do. Alright, we get to the end down here, and I like to pull off about, I don't know, 6 or 8 extra feet so that I can cut it off and still have room to play with it. Get it good and tight. What you do is you just pull it to the bottom. I like to pull a tight loop. Just anyway, just wrap it a few times. Just make sure it's good and tight. The top part will pull some. The bottom won't pull because it's so close to the ground, but the top will pull. Like I said, we'll come back in later on if we have to. If it gets a heavy load on it, if the beans grow good like they did last year, we'll have to come in and actually get a hold of the tops of these outside posts, and we'll have to pull them out like this and drive a piece of rebar in the ground and stake them off and pull them like that. Otherwise they'll sag way down in the middle. We have to pull them back up good and tight and straight. Then we'll get to the top part. I do it pretty much the same way. I run all the way down, tie it off, and bring it back to this end and tie it. Let me get this one done and I'll be back with you to show you how we weave it through. Alright, we got our top and our bottom strings run. The way I run the middles is I do it a little bit at a time, because you can't take the roll and undo it or it'll be a mess. We've tried. I promise you it will be a mess. Get you a little stick. I break off the end of a backer stick here, and I just wrap string around it. I don't know, 20, 30, 40 foot, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'll start on this end here and I'll go that way, and I'll just come back, and when I run out of string I'll tie it off and just start another row here. Alright, that should be good to get us started. What I do is I start at the top corner and I'll tie me a knot in it. Doesn't have to be a strong one. These ain't going to support a whole lot of weight. It's more of a climber for them to climb on. I wrap it under and then back over, and I pretty much do that the whole row. This right here, this piece of wood, just helps us roll it a little easier. This is a lot of string. It takes a lot of string to do this. About every third or fourth one I'll take, and when I come down here I'll double wrap it just to give me a good stationary spot. I like to try to wrap about every 1.5 foot or so from each other. I didn't get enough string. But when I get to the end of the string, I'll just loop it through. I'll leave about that much so I can attach it to the next patch of string that I do. And you just take and tie it off. That's pretty much it. And the next one I'll tie to that, and I'll start running, and I'll just do like that right there the whole way down. These beans, what they'll do is we'll come back in and we'll get a hold of them and just stick them up to it and sort of train them to it. And once they touch it, all they have to do, you can take them and just lay them on like that right there. Once they realize it's there, it'll grab and grow. We put them posts in earlier, and you can see that bean is already climbing up that post right there. And once they touch it, they'll grow. They want to grow up. So if they've got something taller than them, they'll hit it and they'll just keep right on growing. We had some last year that grew over 15 foot tall. We're trying to keep them a little lower this year, so we're actually taking the snakeheads, we call it, that stick up on these, and we're running them diagonal, trying to get them to lay down and grow sideways on these and fill these out. I think that it'll work out just fine. We'll just have to see in the end how it turns out. But we appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe.